covered from all sides. Reporters Jeff Darlington with the Seahawks all week, Sal Paolantonio on the Patriots. A lot to get to for both teams, but first, all eyes are on Patriots quarterback Drake May, who was limited in practice last week with a shoulder injury, missed Friday's practice due to illness. So, Sal Pal, embedded with the Patriots this week, what's the latest on Drake May?
Yeah, let me get you up to date, Dan. The Patriots are going to Stanford University, Palo Alto. Practice time temperature here in Northern California, 64 degrees. We're going to round up to 65 degrees, so it's going to be a real nice day for the Patriots to practice, and we're anxious to see how much practice Drake May has today. Unfortunately, no pool reporter at practice today, and no practice or injury report from the Patriots until Wednesday. So we won't really get a true update about his shoulder for 2 days. Same for Robert Spillane, their middle linebacker who left the AFC Championship game with an ankle injury. As everybody knows, Jack Gibbons had the green dot put on his helmet in the middle of that game and did a great job taking the signals in from Zach Kerr, who called the defensive signals in that game and did a brilliant job against the Denver Broncos. So 2 injuries we're monitoring today and on Wednesday on offense and defense for the Patriots. Now here's Jeff Darlington with the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, Sal, what an interesting weekend for Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, who interviewed with 2 different jobs, the Las Vegas Raiders and the Arizona Cardinals. He is expected to take the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching job. Then he went ahead and flew to San Jose here to get ready for the Super Bowl. But so interesting what Kubiak is dealing with here. Now, he is fully focused on the Super Bowl. One of the things that the Raiders really loved about him is his ability to transition in the middle of this season from being a very pass-centric offense. In Week 11, Sam Darnold throwing 4 picks against the Rams, then transitioning more into a run-centric offense that he brings here to San Jose for this Super Bowl. So the Seahawks are going to have to find themselves a new offensive coordinator after this game, but not before it is over. Kubiak expected to be that Raiders head coach, but for now, still the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks.
Sam Darnold becoming the first quarterback ever to win 14 games in back-to-back seasons with 2 different teams. Jeff, before we let you guys go, we saw this tweet from you about an earthquake in Santa Clara. I want the people to take a look at this. Little baby earthquakes. First, are you good, or what's going on out there?
I'll tell you what, you know what the best part about that is? I'm in my room. I'm a Florida guy. I don't have to deal with earthquakes. All of a sudden, it felt like a train was passing by my hotel room. You know, I go into fight or flight. I'm feeling it, heart's beating, all this stuff. Walk down to the lobby to get in the car with my companion here, Sal Paolantonio, to head over here. I say, you guys feel that earthquake? Sal looks at me like, what are you talking about? Okay, this guy doesn't feel earthquakes. Okay, he doesn't feel anything. This guy is stoic, eyes on the prize. I'm sitting here freaking out in my hotel room. Not Sal and Paolantonio. Not at all.
That's a guy that's covered how many Super Bowls, Sal Pal?
34, Dan.
34
32
Super Bowls.
with ESPN. Yep.
He has seen it all and felt every tremor. Thanks, guys. Obviously, we'll have much more with you as the week rolls along. Clint Kubiak, a busy man. Not only is he preparing to call plays in the Super Bowl as the Seahawks offensive coordinator, but according to our Adam Schefter, he's also expected to be the Las Vegas Raiders' next head coach. No deal can, of course, be official until after the Super Bowl, but Clint Kubiak wants to coach the Raiders, and they want him, so we would expect that news next week. Raiders head coach turnover is something.
Annual tradition.
Yes, it's Clint Kubiak's going to be the Raiders' 5th full-time head coach in the last 6 seasons, dating back to John Gruden in 2021. Previous 3 hirings all failed to complete 2 seasons. I guess low bar to clear for
indeed.
Kubiak. Welcome to NFL Live. Dan Graziano in for Laura, here with Field Yates, Jason McCourty, and Tim Hasselbeck. So, Field, we just saw that graphic on the Raiders head coaching turnover. Do you think Clint Kubiak is in a position to change that?
It's going to take some time, for sure. I think the Raiders are now in a position where they're actually aligned with the reality. This is going to take time to not just get back to their winning ways, but to compete in this AFC West division, which now has probably a 4-team race. Like, the 3 head coaches besides Clint Kubiak are well-established, well-respected head coaches. In the case of 2 of them, they've won at Super Bowl previously. What I like about this more than anything else is the potential pairing. It's not potential. It's the eventual pairing of Fernando Mendoza and also Clint Kubiak. One of the quarterbacks that I have used as a comparison for Fernando Mendoza throughout this draft process is Sam Darnold. These guys who want to play hard, play-action pass. These guys who have all-field accuracy and powerful arms. Functional athletes, not dynamic athletes that you're worried about running the football 12 or 14 times a game, but guys that you could move the pocket with. And as we saw in the national championship game, a guy in Fernando Mendoza that when called upon can do some damage with his legs. That quarterback draw, one of the iconic plays of the past college football season. You've got a young head coach. You've got a young quarterback. There's going to be some self-scouting here right now for the Raiders that we want to get to where the Chargers and Broncos were and where the Chiefs have been for about a decade. But now we're on the same timeline. Last year when you hired the oldest head coach in NFL history in Pete Carroll, you said, we want to compete, and we want to compete sooner rather than later. This hire suggests they're ready to be patient going forward.
And then you look at it, you mentioned Mendoza, and you love that pick for you compare him to Sam Darnold. Now, Kubiak's getting ready to have Sam Darnold play in Super Bowl 60, and it's a guy on his 15. So understanding and knowing what you need to get out of the quarterback on the offensive side of the ball is tremendous, and it's a pairing that you love. I think for the Raiders organizationally, as you look at their roster, there's a lot of shortcomings. So how do they figure out a way to fill that void? Are you able to trade a Geno Smith for something that you can get back? You look at Max Crosby and everything that happened at the end of last year where they were tanking in a sense of trying not to win those games at the end. Crosby didn't take well to that. So is Crosby a guy that you potentially try to move to get more draft picks to try to get more talent? Because what Kubiak's walking into, you have Ashton Genty in the backfield. You have Brock Bowers. Beyond that, the cupboard's kind of empty, and that's also on the offensive line. So how many more weapons can you get for him on the offensive side of the ball? And then defensively, how can you fill some of those patches to go out there and be competitive? Because in that division, you're going to have to do something to hold up with Harbaugh, Reed, and those guys, Sean Payton as well, to try to hold your own.
It's a competitive division, and so the reality is it's going to take time. You're going to need to be patience, and I think that's part of the reason we're looking at a young head coach now versus obviously the point field made about Pete Carroll being gone. And I think the other aspect of it is while we have seen rookie quarterbacks come in and have success quickly, it can also take some time. And so the idea that Kubiak is coming from a tree that is basically a West Coast offense-based tree. A lot of pure progression stuff, a lot of move the pocket, play action stuff, something that's kind of been tried and true and proven in the National Football League. I think that there'll be, at least in anticipation of a little bit of patience, a little bit of understanding of what they are dealing with now. And that's kind of what this feels like in terms of age of the head coach and move that you'll be making at quarterback.
They'd love to get back to the playoffs and win a game. Last time the Raiders won a playoff game was 2002. Second longest active drought in the league.
We talked about all this turnover for the Raiders at head coach. How about this for Clint Kubiak? This will be his sixth different job with a sixth different team in 6 years.
That's something.
He has been well-traveled as an assistant coach recently, rising through the ranks, now settling in, soon with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Maybe Clint Kubiak and the Raiders are a better match than we even realized, given all that change. New on NFL Live from Adam Schefter. Ravens are expected to hire Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver as their new defensive coordinator. Weaver worked for the Ravens from 2021 to 23 in assorted roles, including assistant head coach. We've got much more to talk about on NFL Live. We're here for 2 hours. Sam Darnold's NFL journey has taken plenty of turns, and now he is headed to the Super Bowl. But how did he get here? Stick around, and we will tell you. Plus, there's a new LaFleur at the helm of an NFL team. Field explains why this Cardinals head coaching job is a lot trickier than you might think, and why the draft could hold the answers. NFL Live is presented by Tostitos, the official chip and dip sponsor of the NFL, and in part by Xfinity. On NFL Live, the Rams have signed contract extensions with head coach Sean McVay and general manager Les Snead. So McVay has a new contract. He's going to need a new offensive coordinator because Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur has been officially hired as the Arizona Cardinals head coach. Sean McVay asked about that. Today, he had this to say.
You're really happy for Mike. Awesome opportunity. And shoot, we'll get to see him twice a year now. So happy for him. I did think that this was something that could occur. It never fails. Every time me and my wife go on vacation, somebody's usually getting a head job, and then I'm spending too much time on my phone. But Mike did a great job, and really appreciative of him. And I think I was able to be a better head coach because of the contributions that he and our offensive staff have made over the last couple of years, and we're looking to continue that. You know, Mike was a tremendous contributor to us.
Cardinals have the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft, and around middle of the pack when it comes to cap space. LaFleur is going to have to answer a lot of questions ahead of the draft, most notably what the future holds for Kyler Murray at quarterback. Tim Hasselbeck, do you like the hire for Arizona?
Yeah, I think much like, when you look at, the coaching tree that people have been attracted to, right? It's you think we're just talking about Clint Kubiak. It's kind of a similar thing. West Coast roots in terms of the basis of, the offenses that have been run and the experience, that Matt LaFleur has. And so I think, and then Mike LaFleur has. And so I think when you look at all of that, it makes sense. Now, I think that there's going to be some challenges. You had them up on the full screen there. You start talking about who's the quarterback going to be, and then how do you get the quarterback if he's not the guy that's on your roster right now, and Kyler Murray, which is kind of my anticipation at this point. So, yeah, I think it makes sense. I think this is a tougher job than people realize, even though there is some talent there because of what you have to do to try to acquire the quarterback of the future for you.
Tim, this is a tough one here. So Mike LaFleur is ready for this job. He has been, I think people have had him as a potential head coaching candidate for quite some time. But think about the division he walks into right now. Yeah. The rest of the teams in the division had 38 combined wins this past season. The Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Rams all won at least 12 games. The Seahawks, of course, are playing in the Super Bowl right now. And you mentioned it, Tim. This job is going to be one that's going to require some patience because obviously the Cardinals need a quarterback and in the worst sort of way, right? Kyler Murray will be behind them at some point here soon. Jacoby Brissett is nothing more than a bridge quarterback for now. Where do you find that quarterback this offseason? They're picking 3rd. They will not be able to draft a quarterback at the top of the draft, or else they will be overdrafting a quarterback at the top of the draft, in my estimation. Is there a trade target? Is there a free agent target? There is no Sam Darnold in this year's free agency class like there was last year. The Jets and the Cardinals, picking 2 and 3, have to be incredibly methodical about addressing this quarterback spot this offseason because while they are buyers, this is not a buyer's market. So I just hope that Arizona is prepared for what could be a multi-year process to get back into the NFC West mix.
I don't want to fast forward past the flex by McVay as he looks like he's in a beautiful surround. Yeah. He talked about being on vacation with his wife and somebody's always getting hired off his tree as if that was just nothing. So congratulations to him and his tree and all the coaches. But as I look at LaFleur, you mentioned it, the quarterback situation is huge. Jacoby Brissett is that bridge quarterback. He's also a veteran in the room. So when you talk about where that next quarterback is going to come from, if it's not this offseason, to me, you roll with the veteran, a guy that people within that locker room will follow behind because he's the guy that was there with Drake May a year ago in his rookie year. He was with Tua Tagovailoa as a young quarterback in Miami as well. So he has a ton of experience being that bridge quarterback or being the veteran presence for the offense. He was also in Cleveland when they had a lot of things going on with Deshaun Watson. So for LaFleur, you look at this offense, Trey McBride as a tight end. Look at what he's just come from with McVay and what they were able to do with all of those tight ends there. How do you find a way to be competitive early on while you're waiting for that quarterback of the future to be available?
In case people are wondering, Jacoby Brissett did sign a 2-year contract last year, so he's under contract for 2026 and an option. And only Matthew Stafford and Drake May threw more passing touchdowns from week 6 on than Jacoby Brissett this year. Pro Bowl week is here. See the league's top playmakers in a 7-on-7 flag football showdown in a fun, competitive format that showcases elite talent. Speaking of elite talent, our Michelle Beisner-Buck is there and caught up with Falcons running back Bijan Robinson.
Your 2nd consecutive Pro Bowl. What does it mean to you to be named to these games, especially when you know that the fan has got to vote in it?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a blessing. Like, God is so good for, giving me an opportunity to be here. And obviously all the fans that, contribute and the players and the coaches, like, it all ties in. So, with me, I'm honored to do it for 2 years in a row. and hopefully like I get to build these relationships and just continue to have fun with these guys.
Lastly, new president of football operations is Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
New head coach Kevin Stefanski has been singing your praises since he got hired. What are you most excited about for the Falcons' 2026 season?
Yeah, I think even just when they came in with so much urgency already, and that's what I feel like, you know, we can strive on and can come up upon. And, you know, even when Kevin came in the building, like, and me and him had a conversation right away, and to hear his plans and to hear what he has in store for the team, like, it's super exciting.
All right, Field, new leadership in Atlanta, as Michelle and Bijan were discussing. What should be first on their to-do list?
Common theme for teams that have a top 15 or so pick is what are we doing at quarterback to begin next season? Obviously, Atlanta has a quarterback in Michael Penix Jr. that they believed enough a couple of seasons ago to be their long-term starter. He's coming off of a torn ACL. This is a new regime as well. I don't know exactly where they stand on what Michael Penix Jr. represents for them going forward. Kirk Cousins recently restructured his contract that sets up the likelihood that he is going to be released shortly after the free agency window begins. So is this a team that finds a bridge quarterback to hold down the fort until they have Michael Penix Jr. back in the fold? Or what is their plan at quarterback? Because for all the attractive things about this roster, this defense was terrific. They were a sack machine on defense last year. Bijan Robinson, Drake London. There are some legitimate pieces on the offense. The quarterback is going to be the straw that stirs the drink. And perhaps they have the right coach for the job in Kevin Stefanski, because he's been living that reality for like a half a decade now, right? Everything but the quarterback in Cleveland.
I think that's the scary thing as you look at this, because he is walking into another situation where who is their quarterback going to be? Is there a veteran that they're able to find if Kirk Cousins is walking out the door? But I think beyond that, if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, you're excited about the future because you look at the structure of the organization. You're like, all right, you feel like you're moving in the right direction. Matt Ryan comes in to be president. You hire Ian Cunningham to come over and be your general manager. And then so far, Stefanski going out getting Tommy Rees and Tanner Eggstrom, adding people, Alex Van Pelt, to this coaching staff that you've seen have had success in other places. That gets you excited because you mentioned some of those weapons. We're seeing right there on the field Bijan Robinson on our screen, but then also Drake London, figuring out what you're going to do with Kyle Pitts, if you're going to bring him back. Those are guys that you can go win with, and actually having your defense come back. All of those young guys, the guys on the outside, the two edge rushers, having really good, solid years starting off, getting Jeff Ulbrich to come back in that building. You're looking at that team in that division. You're saying, you know what? Hell, we can win. We have to figure out that quarterback position, but you don't need someone to be at an elite level right away to win in that division. So I'd be excited if I was an Atlanta Falcons fan.
Yeah, I agree with Jim Mack, and I think the other part about it, when you look at it, it's like you mentioned the talent on the roster. I think there's a lot of talent on the roster. You got to figure out quarterback, and I think because of, if you just think of the, I guess, perspective that Stefanski is coming into this job with, look, he had everything but a quarterback in Cleveland, and it didn't work. And so I think when you come with that perspective, I think you've got to be willing to take a risk and somehow swing big to try to fix that problem. And so, it's just kind of interesting with Cousins, restructuring his contract. He actually be the perfect bridge type of guy. But I don't know that you can operate, with this notion that you have time. And so, with that, I think that Penix's injury history going back to college and now what's happened in the pros, I think they've got to be extremely aggressive. And look, I don't know what that looks like, and I don't, the names that'll be out there, aren't going to be names that are going to excite everybody, but, maybe it's Mac Jones, maybe it's, maybe even things like Kenny Pickett and else, and things like that. But like the reality is you have to do something. Otherwise, what happened in Cleveland is going to happen all over again in Atlanta.
A lot of teams out there looking for creative solutions at the quarterback position, much like the Seattle Seahawks were this time live. And what a journey it has been to get to this point for Sam Darnold. His first 6 seasons in the NFL were nothing like the last 2 have been. Darnold has more wins, touchdowns, and game-winning drives in the last 2 seasons than the rest of his career combined, despite nearly 20 fewer starts in that time. Since 2018, Darnold has had stints with the Jets, the Panthers, and the 49ers, and the Vikings before this season's magic carpet ride with the Seahawks. Here's our Alex Smith with Sam, who has found a way to erase those bad memories from along the way.
9 seconds left. Stafford looks, fires. Ball is caught. Puka Nacua slides out of bounds. No, clock keeps moving.
Going back to last week, last play of the game, what was the first thing you felt in that moment?
It's special, man.
Seahawks win, and the Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl.
You put in so much work through, from April, we have this dream of going to the Super Bowl, and now living it out. There's all those emotions that come with winning.
You play like nearly flawlessly.
I definitely wouldn't say flawlessly, man.
Pretty close, man.
Rams rush. Sam steps up, throws back inside. Cup makes the catch. Touchdown, Seahawks!
For me, it was just going out there and doing my job.
How about our quarterback?
Has it sunk in at all, man? Like the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It really is. Like, I'm enjoying this process because it is a 2-week process up to the game, and being able to kind of breathe and let it sink in. And yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl, it's a big deal, but when you enjoy it throughout the couple weeks, I feel like that'll kind of help my mind a little bit, ease my mind a little bit going into the game.
You went to the Super Bowl a few years back, right? Like, have you relied on that experience at all, right? Like,
as a backup as
obviously
well.
Very different, yeah, but has that been helpful?
Yeah, definitely. Even just talking to some of the guys, we were all kind of talking about what we should pack and if we should check a bag, like all these different things that are kind of, the little things that people don't realize we go through or think about. And I was like, nah, guys, like, I think we're good. Like, they'll give us a couple jumpsuits, some track suits to wear while we're there. But, it is going to be a little bit different being a starter.
Darnold throws one towards the goal line, and it's intercepted. Unbelievable.
Your story as a whole at this point is remarkable, man.
The New York Jets select Sam Darnold, quarterback, USC.
20-year-old kid getting drafted, right? Like, huge expectations, traded, benched. Was there like adversity or a stage that was the toughest?
Getting, traded to Carolina, that was a tough one for me. Just being brutally honest, like thinking, top 5 pick, I'm gonna, change the culture, go out there and get control of the AFC East and go win playoff games. Like, that's always the vision, right? So when that doesn't work out, it's like, oh shoot, man, like that sucked. There's a million thoughts that go through your mind, like, oh, am I gonna be a backup for the rest of my career? Thankfully, I got another opportunity in Minnesota to show the world and myself what I could do.
He pumps, fires to the end zone, touchdown!
Your QB class that you come in with, it's like you're forever linked with. You're tight with Josh, I know that, right? Like, you played with Baker. You're the first one going to the Super Bowl, man. Like, how does that feel?
Just understanding how, scarce these opportunities can come. I don't know when I'm going to have another opportunity to play in the Super Bowl, so I think just enjoying the process and preparing like heck to go play a really good Patriots team.
All right, we welcome Joe Fortenbaugh. He was just wandering the hallways. We said, Joe, you want to come in and be on NFL Live? He said, sure. So we're happy to have Joe. J-Mac, that Seattle offense, what's been the key to their success with Sam Darnold this season?
Sam Darnold has run this offense, and Kubiak has given him so many answers to the test, and it's been fun to watch the creativity that comes with it. And you go back to their game a week ago and look at where they put people. Cooper Kupp is now in the backfield. They're going to motion the running back out. For Sam Darnold, that now confirms we're getting man-to-man. Now as he's going through it, you're getting 2 double teams, one on Kupp, one on JSN at the bottom of the screen. So now I get one-on-one with Rashid Shaheed. I can take that shot, and he puts the ball beautifully down the sideline for a big gain. The second part, going against this New England Patriots offense, can you handle the pressure? They've blitzed on 40% of dropbacks since week 14. They're going to come after him. You see right there, pressure right in his face from Kobe Turner, puts the ball right on the money to Jake Bobo for a touchdown. So those things for Sam Darnold, you're going to have the answers. Can you go through your reads and get the ball where it needs to be? Now, when pressure's in your face, can you get the ball out and make the throw in those crucial moments?
Sam's been amazing. As Alex Smith said, almost flawless last week in the NFC Championship game. He's also gotten a big boost from the running game. Zach Charbonnet goes down with a torn ACL. It's been the Kenneth Walker show, and he has been remarkable. A reminder of why he was taken in the second round. He's been such a tantalizing talent that I know those of us in the fantasy football community wish got the football more often. It's a strength-on-strength matchup, though, when they play the Patriots this upcoming Sunday. Is Milton Williams returned from a high ankle sprain late in the regular season, and the Patriots paid him $26 million per year last offseason. He signed the largest contract in the history of the Patriots franchise. Yes, J-Mac made slightly less than $106 million when he played in New England. That being said, he may right now be viewed as perhaps a little bit of a discount. He has been remarkable for the Patriots, worth every penny and then that much more. So it has been two units that maybe during points of this season were not viewed as a strength. The Patriots' run defense did fall down a little bit in the second half. They have resurrected, and the running back room led by Kenneth Walker III has been great as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Phil, because look, there's not a bigger Drake May fan on the planet than me, but like the reality is the best player on the Patriots is probably Milton Williams. And, we just don't always talk about, the guys that are playing on the D-line is being the guys that are going to impact the game the absolute most. But to me, that's what I think this is going to end up being about for New England defensively. Look, Seattle's really struggled at a few spots on their offensive line throughout the season. They've shown some improvement, but right guard has continued to be a problem. So I just think in general, when you look at New England's front seven, you think about, you mentioned the big contract of Williams, but like they spent other money in free agency, in that front, and they've been absolutely outstanding. That to me is if you're winning on first down, now it's second and long, now you're leading into, third and 8+ scenarios. Look, as great as Sam Darnold has been this season, that's not an environment that anybody really wants to live in. And so I think that is kind of the matchup and kind of between, when Seattle has the ball and New England's on defense, that really could end up having as much of an outcome on this game as anything else.
Second straight Super Bowl for Milton Williams, too. So, he's obviously living right. Speaking of that, Joe Fortenbaugh is our betting expert, and we mentioned he's here today. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We have to go to break. So, no, I'm kidding. Right, he wants to break down this matchup. Tell us what we can expect.
He's going to say, can I get some lunch, please? I don't even know what I'm doing here.
What should we be looking out for on the betting side?
I love where Tim's at. I love where Field's at when it comes to Milton Williams. The operative word here is going to be splits, not just what Graziano does to loosen up for a hosting gig, but what you see from Milton Williams on and off the field this season. This is every single game for the regular season, 17 games. I also want you to listen to this. 12 games played, 5 games missed. In the 12 games he played this year, Patriots gave up 82 rushing yards per game. 5 games he missed, 146 rushing yards per game. You take that information, which has been prepared in a graphic specifically for NFL Live as we channel our very own Sal Paolantonio.
That was very good.
We ask ourselves, how are we going to go ahead and bet it? Kenneth Walker, who you just mentioned, rushing prop opened at 82.5 yards, been plummeting. Wow. Why? No Zach Charbonnet, you would think everyone want to bet the over. Down to 72.5 because of Milton Williams, because of this Patriots defense. They showed up big against Houston, the Chargers, and Denver in the playoffs. I'd be looking to bet the under on Kenneth Walker's rushing yards.
Tougher secondary, too, than what Sam Darnold faced against the Rams in the NFC Championship game, fair to say?
Absolutely, and play style as well. Like this New England Patriots defense and their secondary, they're going to play man-to-man. They're going to be in your face throughout, and they're going to blitz you. When you talk about Milton Williams, there's not only going to be him coming at you, they're going to send 6 and 7 guys with those max blitz looks, and they have the guys in the back end that they feel very confident, from Christian Gonzalez to Carlton Davis to Marcus Jones, to be able to cover Jackson Smith-Njigba and Cooper Kupp and company. So this is going to be a different style of game where the Rams 2 weeks ago, they didn't really blitz Sam Darnold at all. He had all the time in the world to be able to get the ball down the field.
Yeah, you talked about the shift, right? Week 14 was the date that you referenced with Patriots have really dialed up the pressure. It's been consistent during the playoffs. They have been bringing the heat on opposing quarterbacks. It has worked. Obviously, the C.J. Stroud nadir was as low as it gets for quarterback play in the playoffs, but they really contained Justin Herbert. No touchdowns allowed in that game. And I get it, backup quarterback, and yes, the weather was atrocious against Denver just a couple of Sundays ago. But this Patriots defense, for all the talk about the defenses they faced, statistically, it's been the best defense in the NFL this postseason.
Absolutely right. It'll be fascinating to see what answers they also have for Jackson Smith-Njigba if they're going to start blitzing defensive backs. We'll much more on that, including. Max Mac's fired up. In case anybody was wondering, it was 16 degrees and the feels like was -4. And Mac, look, man, I mean, he stays true to himself. He's not wearing shoes.
I believe we used to have the most interesting man in the world commercials during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I just need to replace that with like a live stroll of Mac Hollins' Instagram profile. This guy is, he's captivating. I mean,
yeah.
Can we get him some socks? I know Mac would just completely reject the notion from me. He's got to be the most unique character in the NFL. I love this guy. If you don't love Mac Hollins, it's a you thing. It's not a Mac Hollins thing. This guy is a rare bird. I'm completely mesmerized by his approach to life.
Do you want me to get his number for you?
Yes. Can you work on that? I mean, you probably already have it, right? Yeah. I love this guy. You don't love this guy?
No, I was teammates with that guy. Everything you see is real. Behind the scenes, in the facility, no shoes. I was in New England and Foxborough in the preseason. We're in the cafeteria, glass breaks. Right away, everyone in the cafeteria that worked there was like, where's Mac Hollins? You have to make sure he does not walk in here so he doesn't step on any glass. So who Mac is to all of us on the outside, that's who he is to the people closest to him as well.
And he really loved that Mike Vrabel stuff from the old movie The Warriors.
Awesome.
He's really living that.
Did you hear what Vrabel referred to him as earlier in the season?
No.
He was like, he kind of reminds you of the Encino Man, old Brandon Fraser classic from back in the day.
Vrabel really digging deep on the movie references to New York now, where new head coach John Harbaugh was on the Howard Eskin show this week and had this to say about competing in the NFC East. Quote, "You've got to build a team to beat the Eagles. Yeah, you've got to beat the Commanders, you've got to beat the Cowboys, but the Eagles are the champs, you know? So we have to build a team specifically to beat the Eagles. Everything we do, every practice, every film session, we will be keeping that in mind. I mean, you better be focused on that or you have no chance. How hard is it going to be? It's going to be really hard, but it's going to be hard for them to beat us too. We're going to be really tough to beat. Good luck with that, and we'll see how it plays out." Eagles back-to-back division champs. Tim, you like hearing this from John Harbaugh?
I do like it. I mean, he's not as interesting as Mac Hollins, but I do like the comments here because I think it gives a clear direction of, what the goal is. Look, any team I was on, the number one goal ended up being, hey, let's make sure we win our division first. And Philadelphia is when you look at this, it's a clear directive of we're going to build our team to be able to deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's going to be our mission. That's going to be our goal. That's the directive to everyone in the building. And I think that it's good to have a message like that. I'm sure, Dallas and Washington will have it as billboard material, but your bulletin board material. But ultimately, I don't think that matters. I think it's clear to say, hey, and quite frankly, it's probably what he, how he approached it in Baltimore to say, look, Pittsburgh's the team that we need to deal with. That's the team we need to beat. He was able to do that, and I think that'll be the plan in New York.
To Green Bay now, where the Packers have announced they've hired Jonathan Gannon as their defensive coordinator. J. Mack, you like the hire?
I do. I like the hire. Jonathan Gannon comes from a defensive back perspective. That's where he was when I was with him in Tennessee as just a quality control coach. Worked his way up the ranks. You go back a few years ago with the Philadelphia Eagles, he had them playing as a top 10 defense. Everyone says this about Jonathan Gannon. He's a guy that loves to connect with his players and brings the energy each and every day. So you look at that fit with the Green Bay Packers. Having a guy like Micah Parsons who's going to be coming back off of injury. The play they did in the secondary with a guy like Keyshawn Nixon having a big year. Xavier McKinney, a lot of those guys getting after the quarterback and having guys on the back end that can cover you up. I think Jonathan Gannon can do that. Also, LaFleur played against him a bunch, too, so he got to see that defense and the things that they can do.
We do some football Tetris here right now. Matt LaFleur loses his defensive coordinator to become the head coach of the Dolphins. He needs a new one. He taps into Jonathan Gannon, who was available only because he was fired by the Cardinals, who then replaced him with Matt LaFleur's younger brother, Mike LaFleur. You guys got all that?
I do. Yeah. That's a lot of connecting the dots.
That's what I'm here for.
All right, I appreciate that. New on NFL Live, Sean McVay was asked earlier today if he thinks Matthew Stafford will be back with the Rams next season. Here's what he said.
He deserves as much time as he needs. We spend a lot of time together, and I feel I'm excited about, I'm hopeful, but I think, with respect to him, haven't said. And I think I don't get this sense that he wants to let it drag on either. And then we'll just kind of see what he's feeling. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed like you guys that he wants to still play.
Sean just like sitting on the deck doing interviews like on his phone. It looks like, just chilling. Like I'm sure he wishes he was getting ready for the Super Bowl, but he looks like he's relaxing. Tim, Rams are already looking for a new offensive coordinator. Matthew Stafford's future uncertain right now. Should the Rams be looking to make a different move at quarterback this offseason?
I don't think so. I think, if Stafford's year went the way his preseason went, then I'd say, like maybe you need to be looking around for, the next option at quarterback for the Rams. But look, he played as well as he has ever played. And physically, in terms of like the way the ball comes out of his hand, it doesn't feel like he's like this is going to slow down anytime soon for him. He also appears to be having fun. They've got good talent around him. And I think when that's the case, I think guys want to keep doing it. They want to keep playing because when you're playing well, okay, it's a chance. Like we just think about it from like the very short list of guys that played quarterback as well as he played it this season. You typically don't leave when that's the case. And I do think what's interesting is, it was just a couple of years ago where the Rams were telling him, hey, it's okay for you to go look around and see if there's something else out there for you. Like they forecasted this incorrectly, much like teams in the past had done, the Packers had done with Aaron Rodgers or guys like that. And so, ultimately, I think they're going to be on Matthew Stafford's timeline because of the way it went the last time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it, Tim, the way he played this season, and you go back to training camp with the back issues and everyone was so concerned, and he's had an MVP season. I think the question mark for the Rams is the fact that he is debating and thinking about retirement. You do have to start to think about what that future looks like. That doesn't mean you move on from Matthew Stafford right now. If he says he wants to play, he's your starter, he's your QB1, you're moving forward. But is there a quarterback that you can eye and say, hey, we want to bring in a Malik Willis in free agency? Is there a guy later on in the draft that you think you could potentially be there and draft and maybe build him up and develop him to have behind Matthew Stafford? Because if you are able to get a quarterback on your roster while he's still playing, well, now you have somebody in that room that you can say, hey, just look at everything Matthew Stafford does and do it exactly like him. That gives you a fighting chance. So I think as well as he's played, the fact that when you're 37, 38 years old and you're getting up there, we've seen plenty of videos with him and his family. You start to think about life after football. And as those thoughts start to creep in, you're closer and closer to the end.
Reflecting back to last year's draft, they make the trade with Atlanta, which includes them acquiring Atlanta's 2026 first-round pick. At one point this year, it looked like it might have become a top 5 pick. It settles in at number 13. So that's moving down from 5-ish to 13. But on top of that is the quarterback class did not develop this year like we thought it might, and you had a couple of players decide to stay in school that might have been intriguing to the Rams. I know J-Mac knows this from playing for Bill Belichick. You never need insurance until you need insurance. He was always ahead of the curve on grabbing quarterbacks. Have one in the kitty just in case something does happen to Tom Brady. The Rams do have this bonus pick, number 13 overall. This might not be the draft to use one, given the complexion of this year's quarterback class, but I do think this is an organization that has planted the seeds to potentially have a succession plan in place for Matthew Stafford before Matthew Stafford walks away. The other dynamic I always think the Rams will have going for them, I guess it's twofold, is that they play in Los Angeles and they're coached by Sean McVay. Yeah. If they get to a spot where they are in the free agent market and there are a few available that might be of note, you have to imagine that the next Sam Darnold-level quarterback is going to say, well, that's pretty intriguing. Yeah. Perfect weather and one of the best and one of the best coaches in the NFL. Sign me up for that.
Absolutely. And those picks, those extra first-round pick they have, they can make another trade.
Yes,
maybe
sure could. Yeah.
Get one for next year when the quarterback class might be a little deeper. So a lot of flexibility for the Rams. Still to come, from overlooked to unstoppable. The Patriots are Super Bowl bound in year